All right, get ready for anxiety. It's Inside Out 2. We've seen it and we're going to talk about it. So me and Nan saw this one last night and we're currently under embargo, but we're recording this now and it will be scheduled for when the embargo exactly drops. Inside Out 2 follows Inside Out 1, which came out in 2015, and it's essentially kind of working in real time as it follows Riley as she becomes a teenager now. She's hit puberty and 4 new emotions have a joined headquarters that is ennui, embarrassment, envy, and anxiety. So the film is voiced by Amy Poehler as Joy, Phyllis Smith as Sadness, Lewis Black as Anger. Bill Hader was Fear in the first one, but it's been replaced with Tony Hale. Liza Lapira replaces Mindy Kaling as Disgust. As for the new emotions, you got Maya Hawke, Ayo Edebiri, Adele, Exarchopoulos, Loptic, whatever we want to call it. Paul Walter Hauser, as well. Okay, Nan, we'll get straight into this one. What were your just brief overall thoughts on this?
It was great. It was more than great. Nice. It was what Pixar needed to be ever since Soul, you know. It probably is on par with the first, if not a bit better, you know. I think it's probably one of the best Pixar sequels ever. That includes Toy Story 2 as well. But yeah, I think we had fears when this first came out that this will fall into the sequel trap, but I think this completely broke that and just exceeded the expectations by so much for me. Like, I was blown away about how good this product was. What about you? Yeah, no, for sure. I'm pretty much the exact same. I was kind of flawed. I mean, like, due to the time difference, you guys saw it before me, but just you gave it such high praise, and I was like, okay, I'm something special, and I was still like floored. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like the Pixar that I know and love. And halfway through watching it, I was like, all right, this is Pixar's next franchise. Like, Pixar's done sequels for Monsters Inc., Finding Nemo, whatever it may be, but Toy Story's been its only real franchise that, you know, can be consistently great and can be continue to be expanded on, where I guess we keep coming back for more. But yeah, I was watching this and I'm like, okay, they can keep going with this. We can see this continue to go on. So I'm really great that Pixar they know what they do with this one, and it's good to see that they've found another franchise that, you know, I can be excited for. Like, as soon as Inside Out 3 is announced, I'm gonna be like, my expectations and like excitement are gonna be sky high. I think I had this at like 5th for my most anticipated, and that was due to the lack of kind of movies I was excited for this year. So, you know, if it was coming out next year, for example, it would have been like way lower. But now, yeah, they've now 2, and the first one, I would say it's better, but just give me anything that you can find negatively, because I feel like we're gonna have a lot more to talk about when it comes to the positive side. But any negatives that you picked up through it? I've been struggling all day to think of a negative. I couldn't really think of anything. I know your thoughts because you put it in the chat, so I'll let you tell that. But only thing I could think of is just how controlling Joy is, but I think that's more of a character rather than the actual film itself. But yeah, I couldn't think of anything negative, and I still can't.
Fair enough. Okay, well, I guess I'll go on to my thing now then. So the one thing I didn't like is that this film does take place over a weekend, and it is the start of Riley entering puberty. And, you know, by the time we get to the resolution or the climax of the movie, it feels like a lot has been resolved, which doesn't quite reflect what puberty or that the experience of puberty is like. I think it's a very long process. So I wish it was more like structured more similarly to the first one, where a series of events, you know, hit for Riley, and then that causes, you know, these kind of big emotional moments happening, you know, inside headquarters, inside Riley's mind. So yeah, I don't think it reflects it. But in saying that, it's not like I was watching the movie and I was like, they should have been doing that instead. It wasn't like that at all. It was like a thought after. I'm like, I probably would have been like more emotionally hitting if it did that. In saying that, yeah, Inside Out 1 was a lot more emotional. I mean, I've seen it this year, and it continues to, you know, hit hard, especially the candy floss elephant. What's his name? Bing bong, yeah.
I was going to say bingo.
Oh my gosh, no. Bing bong, yep. Him, and then Riley's breakdown at the end was a lot more emotional in this one. This one's, like I was saying, intellectually stimulating. It's just a lot more to think about as Riley's getting older. These new emotions are coming in. Our minds get more complex as we age, and we're seeing that through Riley. What did you think of the new emotions and the additions that we got in this film?
I thought they're really good, it's like how any new emotion is in real life, they sort of take over, and the ones that you used to just die down, and this is exactly what we see, we see the new emotions take over, thinking that they know what's best for their human, and it end up backfiring in their face at certain points. So I thought they were really good. I thought anxiety was made out to be more of an antagonist in this, obviously, and I think Maya Hawke played it perfectly, because the way she speaks just seems like the perfect voice for anxiety. I swear she's like always anxious, so that was like a perfect casting, and I thought she did fantastic. And then the other three new emotions, they were pretty much supporting like how the other emotions were for joy, but they all like complemented anxiety in the end of the day. And then obviously when the old emotions and new emotions interacted, it was almost flawless, like they were all just trying to figure out each other, and then all coming together to realize what's best for the human they're in. No, I agree. The one thing I loved was anxiety, the way they personify that character, and I guess visually depict how anxiety is for all of us. I mean, anxiety is always looked at as a villain, and it's looked at as a villain in this movie. And then, the messaging and the thematics of the movie kind of suggest that all your emotions have a role. Anxiety is actually trying to protect us, so there is some good to be had with anxiety. You just can't let it control you and be too dominating, which is kind of what we saw, or how we saw anxiety play out throughout this movie. So I think it's just really good, especially for young people growing up, learning these new emotions that are coming into themselves at this point in time. And I just really love how these movies they give, I guess, a positive angle to all kinds of emotions. Like, we saw the positive side of sadness in the last one, and now we saw it in anxiety in this one. So, just really impressive stuff. We can easily see where these kind of stories are going to go. But going back to my comment before about the emotional side of it, did the emotions hit with you on this one? And what do you think of like the kind of messages and themes in this one? Did it hit with me? I think some parts did. I think that I can't. No spoilers, right? Yeah.
No,
that
no
final,
spoilers.
The final bit, the bit that we were memeing before we jumped on. I think that probably hit me the most, just in terms of I had experienced that before. And I know what it can do to someone. So I think that's probably what hit me the most. What was the second part of your question?
The messaging and themes of the movie. What it's telling you.
Yeah, I think what it was pretty much telling us was not to forget who you are. Like in childhood, you have your personality, as it's referred to in this, and then your new emotions come in and pretty much take over, and you forget your older self. So it's pretty much, or that's what I got out of it, is not to forget who you are, and each stage of your life is just building you up. So you have to take on, you have to adapt to everything and put everything into one, which is exactly what this film did.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I really thought at some point during the movie it was going to go down like the, positive affirmation route, that's what you should be like, in terms of like, I am, great, I'm nice, I'm kind, and like just say all these positive things about yourself till you believe it, kind of thing. But it's actually like kind of telling us that you may have bad thoughts about yourself, and that's okay. It's, it's all part of who you are, and being who you are is probably the best version of yourself that you can be. But that's something that I really liked. Let's move on to something that I found quite interesting as well, and that was the world building of this. Like, it's hard to imagine how they can kind of expand what they did in the first one, but you're seeing it, kind of on a visual, physical element of Riley's mind adapting and growing as well. What do you think of the world building in this one and how they expanded things there?
Oh, I thought it was just as good as the first, if not a little bit better, and all these subtle nods, like it's sarcasm. Like, I was fucking in stitches in that scene, man. Holy shit.
That's so good, yeah.
And then like how all the old lands or old places that we visited in the first one, how it's sort of become not quite abandoned but getting to that point. Just goes to show that she is developing, she has grown up, so obviously imaginary land or whatever is going to be less in operation, so to speak, when you become a teenager. And then all these new ones, I completely forgot what it was, the Mount Rushmore thing, you know what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
That's exactly what a teenage girl would go through. And then that whole place in the back of your mind thing as well was just exactly how it should be. It's nice and dark, and then it all flows through at the end of the day to who you really are.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I just, the sarcasm part was great, but just the exploring Riley's mind, or just the mind in general, I think it's super fascinating. And if they continue to do more of these Inside Out movies, I would love to see what else they can add to it. How they got that belief system in there now. It just adding more complexion and layers on top of what headquarters is, and what it is really going to grow to by the time she's a fully functioning adult. Looking on to the visual side of things now, what do we think there?
It's Pixar, never in doubt with anything that they ever do. Probably in this one, they've probably gotten the most creative by blending all those different types of animation, in that jail scene with the preschool character, the way that's animated is exactly how a preschool is. That scene had me in stitches as well. I was trying so hard not to actually laugh out loud. I just found it absolutely hilarious. And then also the anime character was animated as the classic PS1, PS2 graphics. And fuck, that guy was crack up as too. That whole scene was just golden. I just could not stop.
When he tries to get out of that vault, but my cinema was just dying. Oh, it's too good.
But yeah, I thought the way that those visual elements blend with the actual Pixar animation was just it was buzzy to see, but it was so good and was done so nicely. Pixar is the king of animation, and I don't think will ever be. They'll ever lose that spot.
Yeah, no, completely agree. This is it's just the top of the line in terms of the industry standard. Pixar, when they do one movie a year, they nail it. Their animation quality is just top notch. Nothing ever really contends with it, except if it's something like Frozen or a Disney animation, one of their big key ones, then they can kind of contend. But I remember Toy Story 4 coming out, that animation quality was just insane. Seeing the stitching in Woody, I'm like, how? This looks too real. But yeah, this is just industry standard. There's not much to say about it. You've kind of covered where they get creative with the visual side of it. In terms of the score, is this kind of just the same, or does it
I found it pretty much the same as the first one, which is all it needed to be. I had a discussion before after the movie with Kai, and I said it took all the right elements of Inside Out and just kept it. It didn't expand on it or lesser it, and the score was one of the things I was referring to. Inside Out already had a great perfect score. They didn't need to add anything or change anything or remix anything, so what they did was just bring in that score into this one, and obviously have a new jingle or whatever for the other emotions, so I thought it was perfect. I can't criticize the score at all. It's perfect. No, it's really well done. Going back to the characters and their voices, any standouts for you there, and how did you find Tony Hale and Liza Lapira replacing Mindy Kaling and Bill Hader in this one? I'll touch upon the first one first, because I didn't really notice any difference. I haven't seen Inside Out probably since before COVID, or maybe during COVID, so I can't really remember Bill Hader's and Mindy Kaling's voices. So I wasn't really impacted with the new voice actors. The standout for me, I think, was Maya Hawke. Maya Hawke and Amy Fowler, Fowler as Joy as always, that positivity, and I think that perfectly captures Amy Fowler's personality. If anyone's watched Parks and Rec, she's exactly like that, but on steroids and Inside Out. And Maya Hawke was just the perfect voice casting for anxiety. I thought she was fantastic. Just you could actually feel like the anxiousness in her whenever she's trying to speak and what she's trying to do and how she just wants everything to be best for Riley. I think she really did that well.
Yeah.
What about you? Who was your favourite?
Well, I mean, in the first Inside Out, the one from 2015, I thought the voice cast was perfect. As for the emotions, like going to like sadness, Phyllis Smith as sadness was just perfect. Like, I'm so glad she wasn't done. But Mindy Kaling as Disgust was missed here. Mindy Kaling just brings that. I don't even know how to really explain it, but she just has that kind of tone of voice that just feels so disgusted at nearly everything, and she can just really use her voice really powerfully there. Bill Hader and Tony Hale, they kind of have that same frequency, so they can both like kind of work as Fear. But yeah, I completely agree in terms of like the newcomers. Maya Hawke was just so great. Really personified anxiety, gave it like such that really fast voice. And she just put so much energy behind it, which is what anxiety really needed. So I'm so happy for her. She really nailed the role of anxiety. But yeah, okay. So let's continue this conversation. And sequels for this, potential sequels. Okay. Inside Out 3, they're going to introduce new emotions. Name one emotion you would like to see for the movie.
Well, I think they can easily squeeze another 2 more films, young adulthood and adulthood out of this one. So let's just say it's young.
We're not going to go to grand elderly?
No, because they have no emotions, because they get dementia and they forget who they are. Unless Pixar wants to go that dark route.
Oh, no.
I don't know. Is pride an emotion? I feel as a young adult you pride yourself a bit. Or cockiness. Cockiness might be the word. Whatever the emotion for cockiness is. Because that's what you get when you're a young adult. Maybe that, just seeing like someone come in and like take controls and be like, I got this, and then just failing.
Yeah. No, I mean, pride would be interesting. I think there's a lot you could do with pride. My one would be love, just because of how like powerful it is. Like when that feeling of like love or like feelings and crushes, like they really hit, you get that really powerful surge. I would love to see how that would work in the mind of somebody, at least in this kind of world that Pixar is building right now. But then also like the bad side of it, when love doesn't go your way, how that love emotion reacts to it. I think it would just be super interesting. And it's when love is like going well, it would be more joyous than joy, for example. And just to see kind of joy be out happiness, I don't know if that's a word, but like outjoyed, I think it'd be cool to see. Yeah. But I mean, if they are going to continue this, one thing I need to add is that there's going to be new emotions. You can't really get rid of these old emotions. So this movie, or like the next future movies, they are going to have to be more like ensemble pieces where each kind of emotion gets its time in the spotlight, so to speak. And it can't be, joy and friends and new emotions. It has to be a shared thing, because that's one thing. That's actually kind of another negative, is that besides anxiety, those other emotions, they don't really get enough time for us to really understand how they work within Riley. So that's something that they need to keep a lookout on the future. But I think Pixar's got a real winner here in terms of a franchise. Congrats to them. They've been trying to find their next franchise after Toy Story, because that needs to end. So I think this is the one you run with for a little bit of time.
Sure.
Yeah. And one thing before we end this review, Nan, it's not our scores. It is our Pixar rankings. I got our top 10 Pixar films here. And I just want to know where you would put it in temporarily. You can let it settle at a later date. But at number 1, we have Toy Story 3. At number 2, The Incredibles. 3rd, Monsters, Inc. 4th, WALL-E. 5th, Toy Story. 6th, Finding Nemo. 7th, Ratatouille. 8th, Inside Out. 9th, Up. And 10th, Toy Story 2. So just looking at that from a glance, from what you heard, Inside Out 2, would it make the top 10 or teetering between off or on?
Is this our combined one or our individual one that you just read out?
Our combined
It'll be
one.
combined.
Mathematically combined.
Mathematically combined, yes. It'll feature in the top 10 for sure. Considering that you and I both are on leaning towards the fence that it's better than Inside Out, the first one, it will definitely feature in there, either at where Inside Out is now, if not higher. Yeah,
no, that's fair call. So, yep, you've heard it here, guys. This is a true winner for Pixar. It feels great, dude, that Pixar's kind of found its form again. I'm not going to say it's found its form again, but just for this movie, it has. We'll see what Elio's like next year. I know they'll hit the nail on the head when it comes to Toy Story, but yeah, this is a real winner for Pixar. It feels like a long time since I felt this way about a Pixar movie. So yeah, really great stuff. Nan, get to your score and we'll cap off this review.
My score is a 9.3 out of 10.
9.3 out of 10. I'm going to go a 9.1 out of 10. I'm just super happy. This is a great time. This is a movie that I want to see again, at least while it's in cinemas. So yeah, you guys go out and see this one. It has been an absolute dud year in terms of those blockbuster big movies, but this is one that is absolutely worth those dollars in your wallet. So definitely get out there and go and see it. Trust me and Nan, do not trust anyone else. But thank you so much for tuning into this review today. We appreciate your time, and if you have seen it, which you probably haven't, but if you have, feel free to comment below. Otherwise, feel free to enjoy this review, go and see the movie, come back, tell us what you thought, and we can have a conversation about it. And as for usual, if you guys want to hear anything about us in terms of different reviews or other topics you'd like us to cover, be sure to comment that below as well, and we'll address it from there. Anyways, guys, you guys know where to find us. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
See ya.